Hey guys, what's going on? Megan here. Here are the top 5 most dangerous signs that you have low testosterone and that you should quickly start making changes to your lifestyle, your nutrition, and your training. Number one, the biggest sign of low testosterone is an increase in anxiety and an increase in fear. And this can happen extremely fast because one of the effects that testosterone has on the brain, specifically the amygdala, is that it reduces fear, it reduces anxiety, which is why, on average, men are a lot more confident than women, and men have lower instances of neuroticism and anxiety than women. The reverse is also true. When you inject women with testosterone, very, very quickly, their levels of anxiety goes down. The same thing obviously applies to men as well. When men's testosterone levels go up, their anxiety goes down, their fear goes down, and thus their overall confidence increases. So testosterone has very, very, very powerful effects on fear and anxiety. In fact, there's a ton of research out there that are actually suggesting that people should use testosterone as an antidepressant or as a way to reduce anxiety. Obviously, you guys know I don't agree with that. I don't think you should inject testosterone into your system unless you fit into the 3 categories that I always talk about. But that's a topic for a different video. So, number one of the biggest signs that you have low testosterone activity. It doesn't have to be testosterone levels, it could be testosterone activity. Because remember, you could have high testosterone levels and low testosterone activity, mainly through high SHBG, high cortisol, low androgen receptor density, or high conversion of testosterone into other compounds. But once again, one of the biggest signs of low testosterone is extreme chronic anxiety. Every little thing scares you. You're afraid to approach people. You're afraid to take risks. You're afraid to obviously not just approach the opposite sex, but you're also afraid to start conversations with members of the same sex. Obviously, there's also some genetic components, there's some environmental components, but testosterone plays a huge role in this. Don't just blame it on, oh, I'm an introvert. Oh, No, no. If you have low testosterone, get that shit fixed. Fix your diet, fix your sleeping, fix your lifestyle. Because that's always going to paralyze you in life. And keep in mind, this is not only true for humans, this is also true for animals. When animals are injected with testosterone, their confidence goes up, their fear and anxiety goes down. They've done it on rats, they've done it on primates. It's the same outcome every time. And it makes sense. Think about it. The main function of testosterone is to help you have sex. It's to help you pass on your genes. And in the wild, you're not going to pass on your genes unless you're willing to compete, unless you're willing to take risks, unless you're willing to go out into the wild. Well, not only you have to compete with members of the same sex, but you also have to compete with predators. Remember, back in the days, in order to go out there and look for a mate, you also had to expose yourself to significant risk from predators. It's not just about competing with members of the same sex, it's also about competing with predators. And it's impossible to do that if your anxiety levels are high. So that is why testosterone evolved. It's so that animals not only have the ability to pass on the genes, but they have the mental capacity to push through obstacles and actually do it. Number two, the second sign of low testosterone is very, very low desire to compete. Again, if you're not always competing, if you're not always trying to improve yourself, if you're not always trying to win, today in society, I know in today's society that's looked at as a bad thing, but no, it's actually the opposite. If you're not always competing, if you're not always trying to improve yourself, you're not always trying to win and get ahead of life, that's one of the number one signs of low testosterone. Why? Because once again, when testosterone goes up, competitive behavior goes through the roof. Again, it's the same in animals, it's the same in humans, which are obviously animals. But I have to make that distinction because some people think humans are not animals. But long story short, how competitive are you? Do you wake up in the morning and just turn on the TV, start playing video games, start looking through your phone, or do you wake up and are you constantly thinking of ways to improve yourself? That's one of the number one signs of high androgen activity. People with high testosterone are always competing for status. That is literally what testosterone does in regions of the brain, irregardless of culture. So you could go to any country, any continent, whatever the value system is in that place, people with high testosterone are always going to try to be number one at it. It doesn't have to be fighting, it doesn't have to be physical, it could be mental, you name it. There's so many experiments on this. Testosterone drastically increases competitive behavior, and the reverse is also true. Competitive behavior leads to the biggest increases in testosterone that we've seen in the literature to date. So once again, we evaluate yourself. How often do you compete? How often Do you try to improve yourself? What do you do on an average day? Do you just wake up and look through your phone, or are you constantly trying to improve mentally, financially, physically, spiritually? If not, then that's a sign of very low testosterone activity. The third sign of low testosterone is a reduced sex drive. Very, very, very low sex drive. Today's society has it backwards, trying to tell men to be ashamed about their sex drive and this no fab semen retention bullshit. Guys, if you study the literature and you work with clients one on one of the number one thing that's consistent across the board is that men with high testosterone are notoriously horny. They are constantly thinking about clapping cheeks. They are constantly thinking about sex. They can't help it. And the same thing is also true in animals. During mating season, when testosterone goes through the roof, animals are horny as shit. So being extremely horny is actually a sign of very high androgen activity. Obviously, you also need a little bit of estradiol for that to happen, but estradiol comes from testosterone. So my point still stands, which is another reason why I'm so against the semen retention and no fat movement because they have it backwards. Yes, if you're addicted to porn, obviously that's bad. But once again, addiction to anything is bad. But if you're a healthy young male or a healthy male in general and you are constantly thinking about sex and you want to beat your meat, beat your goddamn meat. As long as you're not doing it excessively, as long as you're not constantly doing it throughout the day and jacking up prolactin left and right, you are fine. Humans have evolved to do that. Humans have been doing that since the beginning of time. And there's so much science backing this up. That's why there are so many studies showing that testosterone goes up when people are masturbating, testosterone goes up when people are watching porn. Yes, there are studies on that. The only downside is when you constantly masturbate because now you're constantly elevating prolactin. So once again, one of the biggest signs of low testosterone is a decreased sex drive. That's also why older men on average masturbate less than younger men. It's not because older men are doing no fap. No, when you look at the questionnaires, they literally tell the urologist that they have no desire. They have zero sex drive. Meanwhile, the guys with higher testosterone are constantly fapping. In fact, I could make a separate video about the studies that actually show that men who are always masturbating have significantly higher testosterone levels than men who don't. And it's common sense. It is the high testosterone that makes them masturbate. It's the high testosterone that makes them seek out sex. And if they can get it through a mate, great. When they can't, they're fat. Another way you could look at this is, again, using common sense. If fapping and masturbation lower testosterone, then eventually men who masturbate will stop masturbate because guess what? As testosterone goes down, they will lose sex drive. See, and now we're back to square one. They will lose sex drive and they will lose the desire to fap. But that's not what we see. It's actually the other way around. Men who masturbate have higher testosterone levels than men who don't. And once again, it is those high testosterone levels that make them constantly masturbate. Moral of the story, no, it's not saying to go out there and watch porn all day long and beat your meat all day long. I have a video saying that that's also bad for you. No, the goal is to have a healthy sex life. Find a partner, clap her cheeks, date, be active. If on some days you come home with a booty, beat your meat. Don't let nobody guilt you into doing that. I've already exposed no fap and semen retention so many times, but watch my videos if you knew. The fourth dangerous sign of low testosterone is reduced desire to take risks. And that also ties into number one, right? Because low testosterone leads to low confidence, high anxiety, high fear, people with low testosterone are also afraid to take risks. So evaluate your life. How often do you take risks? How often do you approach people? How often do you want to start businesses? How often do you go? It doesn't have to be skydiving. I'm using this as an extreme example, but how often do you take risks? Because one of the primary effects of testosterone by acting on the amygdala is, once again, reducing fear, increasing dopamine, which leads to the individual taking significantly more risks. And if you look at evolution, it makes plenty of sense. In rats, in monkeys, in gorillas, in chimps, they needed high testosterone to make them go and take those risks so that they can get the ultimate reward in life, which is passing on their genes. Number five, the fifth biggest sign of low testosterone is reduced energy. If you're constantly tired, chronically tired, and this is before caffeine, right? Obviously, caffeine is going to send conflicting signals, but if you're constantly tired before taking caffeine, then that's a huge sign of low testosterone. Why? Because once again, high testosterone leads to huge increases in dopamine, huge increases in energy because dopamine eventually converts to noradrenaline, in the US, norepinephrine, and that obviously converts to epinephrine or adrenaline if you're in the UK, right? So high testosterone leads to high red blood cells, high energy, high dopamine, high noradrenaline, high adrenaline, high nitric oxide production, increased blood flow, a bigger, stronger heart, and all of those things are going to give you godlike levels of energy. So if you're not always energized, that's one of the biggest signs that you have low testosterone. And remember, you don't even want to have one of these five symptoms because these are the top five most dangerous ones. You don't even have you don't even want to have one of those. If you do, again, fix your nutrition, fix your lifestyle, fix your exposure to, fix your environment, and increase your testosterone levels naturally. You don't need to spend a lot of money to do this. No, you don't need to go on TRT. Just clean up your lifestyle, and trust me, testosterone will change your life. Try to increase your total testosterone to at least 700. Ideally, you want it to be higher, between 700 to 1,000 or more. And obviously, try to lower your SHBG so that your free testosterone is also high, because ultimately that's what matters. Try to have your free testosterone between at least 150 picogram per milliliter. That's also 15 nanogram per deciliter, to ideally as high as 200 or 300 picogram per milliliter, which is 20 to 30 nanogram per deciliter. That's when you're gonna have the full benefits of testosterone. And obviously keep your stress levels low, because your testosterone is high, but you also increase stress. Cortisol and testosterone are gonna compete with each other and pretty much cancel each other out. All right, guys. Hope this video helps. See you in the Discord. See you in the Reddit. Post your questions there. Come join us, interact, grow together, improve as brothers, and dominate your life. Team 3D Alpha, dominance, discipline, direction. I'm out of here. Alright guys, don't forget to like or share the video, subscribe and hit the bell, and buy my HSP Nucleus Overload Training Program. It's the ultimate program for maximum muscle growth. It includes full body workouts, splits, bro splits, push pull, home workouts, you name it. Also comes with a complete guide for macros, nutrition, fat loss, muscle growth, hormones, including a meal plan. It's pretty much all my 16 years of experience condensed into one fucking book. You're also going to get free copies of any future edition. So visit team3dalpha.com and you can use the 40% off coupon code Nucleus Overload. Or you could just buy the shit at full price. Alright guys, I'm out of here.